Hello everybody and welcome to the Brazilian Formula Student Grand Prix. If we quickly look to the championship, I'll double check I have the correct championship because there may have been changes. I think there have been changes because I missed last week. So 605, yes. It's changed slightly, so I'll get a new screenshot. That is from after USA. I think we had a race in between that I missed. If I grab the top three quick, save that to pre-Brazil. Apologies for the mess. I got home literally 3 seconds ago. Let's now turn studio mode off so I can actually move stuff. There you are. Look, browse, look for pre-Brazil. There we are. So you can see things have changed slightly at the moment. We have Jason leading the championship with Phoenix in second. Phoenix still not at another race. So if I quickly get up some information about today's race. So at the moment, the best results from the top three drivers. So Jason's best results are 8 wins, 3 second places, 2 third places, and 3 fourth places. That counts to his 16. Fulvio Phoenix has 6 wins, 8 second places, 1 P4, and 1 disqualification. And so at the moment he could still gain more points, but he needs to, like, if he wins another race, I think he wouldn't be leading, but he'd be quite high up. But then Goose, he has 5 wins, 5 second places, and 6 third places. So he's for 16 races, he hasn't finished outside the top 3. And so this means that if Jason wins today and then finishes P2 in another race, he would be the champion no matter what happens. If Fulvio wins 2 races, he would be the champion no matter what. And Goose needs to win both races, but it also depends on how Jason and Fulvio finish to crown him. And so that is the information you need. I will now show you the track, hopefully. There we are. I'm not sure how bad stream looks. I'll actually put a link to stream for the drivers to watch. And so if I And so here we have the Brazilian Formula Student Grand Prix, the Grand Prix karting, Sao Paulo Grand Prix. At the moment, the fastest laps are 43.59, set by Guus van Dormelen. Jason Milanov in second with a 43.96. There's about 4 tenths between them there. If I quickly check the keybinds I need, there we are. If I just get the gaps up quickly. As we are watching a lap with Lozzy and 2 other drivers, I'm not quite sure who they are. They're too close for me to tell the difference. Oh, a little bit of netcode weaving, it seems, as well as actual weaving. There's 2 drivers actually pushing there. So look, see Antonio Correa just coming through T1 now. And Rafael Oliveira, a little bit wide there through the final corners. Down into T1. Nice line. Maybe there's a little bit of netcode. Maybe my internet isn't perfect because let me check that the stream doesn't look like rubbish quick. Oh wait, you can't hear the cars. Let me sort that out quick. Yeah, it doesn't look horrific. That's lovely. Maybe affecting my internet a little bit, but oh well. If we watch Goose Van Dorn, no, he looks fine, so maybe it's me or Olivia as a driver. Perfectly fine on track there. As Lozzie. And Thomas Kane. Let's watch Thomas Kane through it. Wait, it's around 21 minutes. Was it 20? 20. I say it's 20, but I'm not quite sure. As we just watch a lap on board with a lap with Thomas Kane, the American driver, I think. And so we have 4 minutes and 40 seconds left of this race to go. I'm not 100% sure if I have the title correct. Don't care particularly. I know I care, but it's fine if I get it wrong. We need to start putting round numbers on the session names instead of just Brazilian FSGP. Makes it easier for me as Thomas Kane coming down the main straight sets a 46.1. Still a good chunk off the leader, who is Goose Van Dormelen, who needs 2 wins. Needs to win these final races plus a good finish, as Jason goes fastest now. Jason Milanov, who all he needs is 1 win and a 2nd place to secure him the championship. Yeah. As we watch the designer of these cars, Diego Rosado, driving onto the grass. And we go to Jordan Barker, who I think is new to the league. I don't recognize him. I feel like this week we have a lot of newer drivers. We have... I think it's dropping a frame or 2. As we watch to our 3rd place driver, Vandermeer. Let me see if I can get a first name for the driver. We have Vandermeer into T1 through T2. At the moment he's 3rd place, which is very good for what I think is the first time in the series. Kevin Vandermeer, the Belgian driver. Yep, never raced in the league before. Lovely to see new drivers every week, as well as our very own Michael Shoemaker, who has raced before, actually, once before at Sochi. So it's been a while since we've seen him. He's a little bit wide through the final corner. Michael Schumacher. And we look to Thomas Kane. Actually, a driver that contacted me and helped me make stream look a little better. Also, thank you, Thomas. As you come to beginning end of a lap, there was a 45.5. This seems to be a driver in the pit lane struggling a little bit. Then we look to the front. Third place driver that not knows. He's not sure who that is, but through there he's come in a little bit too fast. But actually, Brendan Pierce, who should be 5th place at the moment, he seems to have disconnected for a short while, and so has been moved down to the bottom of the timings. As through corner numbers, I don't know. We come. Alright. To the end of a lap, he sets a untimed lap because he invalidated, I'm guessing. But that is the end of the session now. Ooh, flying there a little bit. Just a little bit in the air there he was. As all the drivers comes across the line. Vandermeer, Cadillac Crafter crossing the line. Antonio Correa just through the final actual corner now to cross the line. As Lozzy crosses the line, finally Rascoli, and then Chris P, who actually has been quite strong the races that I've seen recently, and a little tap into the wall there. Yeah, but as we can see after practice, which was 20 minutes, which went very fast with these cars being interesting. You have Jason Milanov, P1. Just about 2/10 behind him is Goose Van Dormelen in P2. Kevin Vandermeer in P3, which is surprise as quite a new driver to the league. He's a first time, and he is 3rd place. So hopefully we can get a good race from him. Cadillac Crafter in P4, Brendan Pierce in P5, Rafael Oliveira in P6, Antonio Correa P7, Lozzy P8, Sarah Molevative, I don't know, Sarah in P9. It's not the first time I've messed up her name, and I'm not sure. It was Michael Schumacher in P10. It's now on to qualifying we go. We wait to see the drivers coming out of pit lane. Lozzy is the first out. Goose Van Dormelen, Cadillac Crafter is 3rd out. Jorge, not sure the name there. Morcillo in 4th out. Milanov 5th out. Brendan Pierce 6th out. Vandermeer 7th. Sarah 8th. Rafael 9th. Ricardo 10th driver out. Brendan Pierce has spun on his outlap, so he's going to have lost a good amount of position there. As Lozzy in the best position on the grid, best position on track, 1st out, but also worse because there is the least grip. Because as Lozzy does their lap, Goose Van Dormelen, Cadillac Crafter, and everyone will be having a little bit more rubber on from them. Lozzy to cross the line. Sets a 44.5. Cadillac with a 44.4. Goose Van Dormelen with a 43.5. Jason Milanov with a 44.2. Just a little bit off as we go to a bit further back on the grid. Brendan Pierce, a driver that we're expecting to be quite high up the grid, on a lap now. This comes to the end of his first sector. We aren't getting sector timings for this lap, it seems. But quite a nice line through there. I'm not quite sure on corner numbers. There's a driver on the outside there that may have distracted him a little bit. As to the final corner of the track, we go. There's a driver stopped on the outside there. Rascoli, as Brendan Pierce crosses the line to set a 43.9 to go second place. 4/10 off of Goose Van Dormelen on pole, about 2/10 faster than Jason Milanov in fourth, who is one of our championship contenders. Rafael Oliveira through sector 2 now. Quite strong, not quite. Oh, there's a driver spun there, which does end Rafael's lap, which I think he's going to return to pit lane. Yes, he is. As Chris P lets Schumacher past. Through. There's a little tap there, and Schumacher goes around Chris P. Continues on. As I check Discord. Oh, I swear I've already mispronounced Sarah's name in another series. Apologies to names are not my strong point. Mulfetova. I give up. I'm just calling you Sarah. Please, yeah. Apologies. Into third place goes Chris P. Goose Van Dormelen was 4,000th off on his fastest lap with Jason Milanov. I didn't know. He actually set a fastest lap of the session by 4,000ths. Who is on another flying lap, maybe. Sets a 43.9, which doesn't beat his fastest lap. And then he has a moment. Oh, was just about returns to pits in time, I think. And this driver also returned because he saw him. Stopped as Rafael Oliveira. Is that him? Is someone stopped on the side of the grid? That might be Rafael. I wonder what he's doing. Maybe he's doing a practice start for some reason in the middle of qualifying. He's stopped on the inside of the track with 2 minutes 40 to go in this session. We will look to the front runners, but he's returned to pit lane now. As we look, oh, Goose Van Dormelen tapping Chris P, I think. No, it wasn't Chris P. Or Cadillac Crafter even tapping a Jimmy Broadbent skinned car going into T1 and spinning around as Diego, the designer of the car, returns to pit lane after being 9th place. We have 2 minutes 15 to go. There's still time to set plenty of laps with how short this track is and how fast flowing it is. As Jason Milanov into T1, very nice, lots of curb. The car slid to the apex of the second corner, or third corner on track. Here's T4, T5. I'm just trying to guess the corners now. I want to say that whole thing's T6, then it's T7, T8's the long left-hander. T9 and is that 1 or 2 corners? Let's get Google up. Apologies. Oof. Autodromer Jose Carlos Interlagos circuit. that's all one corner. Okay. 15 corners of the track. I now have the names of the corners as well as the corner numbers, which is useful. As Jason Milanov through turn 11, 12, you're going to see me start using corner numbers a lot more. 13, 14 and 15, which aren't really corners in these cars. As he crosses the line, so it's a 33, 4, 1, 1. Not sure that's the time he said. I think that's just his fastest time because he didn't beat his fastest. With 30 seconds still to go. We look back to P2, who's just a little bit further up the road with a 43.456 set. Jason Milanov stopped on track. He will not be able to set another lap time this session. So now we look to P2, Guus van Dormelen crossing the line. Will he be able to set another lap after this? Yes, he will. Let's watch him on a flying lap now. Goes down to T4 we go. Very nice line. Car seems to be very stable and under control. Down to turn 8 and 9. There's 2 cars stopped there actually after knowing Goose was on his way. Those drivers will not be setting lap times for the rest of the session. As through the final corner, through 10, 12, the actual final corner. While Guus van der Merwe has left the session, Guus van Dormelen crosses the line and does not beat his time. Cadillac Crafter now, who I think has already finished a lap because the session stopped a while ago. There we are. Every driver is not improving, I'm guessing. As we look to after qualifying, we have Jason Milanov, P1, 4 thousandths faster than Guus van Dormelen in P2. Cadillac Crafter in PC, Chris P, P4. Chris position 4. Brendan Pierce 5. Kevin van der Merwe in 6th, though he may not be racing. He should join back soon. Rafael Oliveira in P7. Lozzie P8. Sarah P9 and Diego Rosado P10. A bit further back, P11 is Antonio Correa, Jordan Baker in P12, Michael Schumacher in P13, Thomas Kane P14, and Morosillo in P15. My attempt at pronunciation. So we look to the front of the grid now. Jason Milanov on pole position. So I have gaps to each driver open. We have 17 seconds till the light sequence begins. 10 seconds now. As to 5 lights we go. 4 lights, 5 lights, 6 lights. And away we go for the Brazilian Grand Prix. I will return to pit lane as the race gets underway. We can see Jason Milanov P1 still. Goose P3, Cadillac P3, Chris P, P4 still. Everything stayed pretty good. Brendan Pierce actually got ahead there, as there is a bit of a mess at the back of the grid, with Diego Rosado losing 5 positions and losing the rear after maybe a tap from a driver behind. But as we look forwards a bit, Van der Merwe is 18th, maybe not starting in the position of P6 after qualifying because of leaving the session, but Rascoli is now in P13, a little bit wide after P8, and there is a spin there as Gonzalez just gets through. Carvalho Carvalho is getting away, but there's another collision. There's Antonio Correa in P14 is only just coming out of P12. There's a driver stuck here, it seems, at the final actual corner of the track, turn 12, as Ricciardo Lamza is spun at T2. Thomas Kane spinning at T4, and everything is getting a little bit dicey here, as we now go to intervals between each driver for the time standings, as Carvalho pushes Kane a little bit wide, having to go over the tyres, as Jason Milanov sets the fastest lap of the race. Thomas Kane is ahead of Ricardo Lamza, but will an overtake be made? Probably not, no. If we look to the front, Goose Van Dormen is still very close to Jason Milanov. With such a short track, there are 29 laps of this race, and we could see some great racing, as Diego is 1/10 off of Cavalier down the inside. Carvalho. Ooh, little tap there. Carvalho goes wide and Ricciardo and Diego goes spinning, letting Thomas Kane through, gaining 2 positions there. And Lamza also gaining a position there. As we look to the front, Jason Milanov has spun. Oh, and Cadillac Crafter has hit him. So now Brendan Pierce is in P2, Goose Van Dormen in P1. And Chris P in P3. Jason Milanov making a move on Chris P, pushing him wide a little bit there and spinning, causing another collision, losing 2 more positions. Jason Milanov is now P5 as Van der May pits. Cadillac Crafter is now chasing down Chris P, who's 2 seconds off Brendan Pierce, and Brendan Pierce is 3 seconds off of Goose Van Dormen. Morcillo has spun and is now in P11 at turn 7. As Brendan Pierce now in P2, as Cadillac Crafter gets past Chris P, but will he be able to make a move into T4? No, he will not. Cadillac Crafter is now in a podium position, as Schumacher in P9 has spun at T4. So we look forwards a bit. There's a great fight going on at the front of the field, as Cadillac Crafter is spun at T10. At turn 10, he has spun, lost multiple positions. Chris P is off there at turn 13, it seems. He was on the apex turn 13, and Sarah looking to overtake Jason. Jason in P3 now. Chris P still losing positions, fighting with Lozzy. Gets the inside and gets the just about to the apex of turn 3 there, as Mulevitel, I don't know the name, Sarah in P4. Apologies for constantly getting your name wrong, as that is a back marker, it looks like, getting into the mix a little bit. The 87 car, it's not an 87 car, it's a 97 car of Rascoli off at between turn 12 and turn 13, getting in the way of some of the front running cars, as Chris P is looking to make an overtake on Jordan Barker into T1. Barker gives him the space, maybe a bit too much, as he gets through quite easily. And now Lozzy is on the attack to Barker, as Schumacher is off at turn 3. Seems he's struggling to pick, as Barker has spun in T4, that is. And Lozzy now in P7. Chris P, P6, Cadillac Crafter P5, Sarah P4, Milanov P3, Pierce P2, and Van Dormen P1. He needs this win at the minute to be able to have a chance at winning the championships. But then he also needs to hope that Jason doesn't get too many amazing finishes, or else Jason will win the championship, as I'm not sure if Phoenix is going to continue fighting for the championship, because we still haven't seen him, as Rosado makes a move on Morcilli, as Brendan Pierce has spun with a few back mark, or has been caught in a crash with a few back markers there. And Morcillo, Cavaliers and Oliviera, I think, were involved. And Goose has spun. Goose has spun at turn 3 there. As Gonzalez, there's a big crash there at one of the final corners down sort of the main curvy straight. Chris P still not going. Antonio Correa involved in the incident. Lozzi involved in the incident. And so 3 drivers involved in the incident, as Morcillo is off the track at turn 10, taking a very wide line, making sure not to get in anybody's way, as Brendan Pierce is very close to the back of Sarah here. Will he be able to make the overtake or not? We'll have to see, as Lozzi is also getting quite close to the back of Cadillac Crafter down the main straight into T1, as Antonio Correa is off somewhere. He's off at turn 9, between turn 9 and turn 10. Brendan Pierce looking down the inside for turn 4. Will he be able to make the move? Under braking, Brendan with the inside line, but Lozzi gets the switch back, who now has the outside line for turn 6 and 7, turn 8, still in front. Ooh, some great racing here from these 2 drivers. Into turn 10, 11, down to turn 12. Sarah is still in front, not giving up any space at all, using all of the track she can to cover off from Brendan Pierce, as Chris P and Lozzi, it was a massive crash there. 4 drivers involved there. Everything's got going again, but at turn 8 there was a collision there. But we look back to the fight between Brendan Pierce, but Thomas Kane has lost positions all the way down to P15. The action is not stopping. We're on lap 11 of 29. This race has gone so fast, I haven't noticed the laps going by. But Vandermeer looking on a move into T1. Looks to the outside. Doesn't quite have the speed to go around. But down to T4. Not quite close enough. We now look to the fight for P3. The podium position between Brendan Pierce and Sarah. Last name I can't pronounce. As Diego is spun at turn 7 there, it looks like. So Diego Rosado, the designer of these cars, not continuing in a points paying position, as Chris P makes a move on Michael Schumacher, but he's looking to make a move back. He looks to the inside at turn 1. He gets to the apex, but can Chris P stay in head? They're now side by side down to T4, as we now have 3 drivers retired: Diego Rosado, Morcillo and Gonzalez. But Schumacher can't quite make the position, as there's some fighting to T1 between Sarah and Brendan Pierce, as there are a few more drivers stopped on track. Barker struggling a little bit, it seems. What an eventful race we're having today. Brendan Pierce through T6, T7 down to turn 8. He might look for a move towards the end of this lap, but he has for the past 3 or 4 laps now been looking to make a move, as there are 3 drivers stopped. As the driver stopped on the edge of track, catching Antonio Correa. Is now 3 drivers slow, as Lozzi is off the track there at T9, between T9 and T10. Brendan Pierce looking to try and make a move on Sarah, but not quite getting past. Rosado is back, but he is still in pit lane, so he may not continue driving, as Lamza in P16 having a little bit of a slide through T9 there. As we look a little bit further up, Rascoli through T8 now. Ooh, locking the rears a little bit and sliding through the corner. But as we look to a fight on track, which is Two drivers within less than a tenth. Oh, Brendan Pierce has gotten a great exit off that corner. He looks around the outside, but he can't quite close the gap. Oh, around the outside, can he go into T1? Yes, he can very nicely. Before T1, he makes the move. There's no DRS in these cars because we're using a version sort of mix between the Evo version and... Well, it's the Evo car, which is 100 and something brake horsepower, but without DRS, so the little fans at the back will always be going, while normally down the straights, drivers would probably turn those fans off to give them less drag and a higher top speed. For this, though, was the driver jumping over the curb there, almost getting in the way of Sarah, and P4 did get in the way, because now there is a 1.6 second gap, so maybe not fully affected by that, but maybe a little bit of that could have been due to avoiding the back marker. As we look to the front of the grid, actually, Goose van Dormelen leading at the minute. And Jason Milanov in P2, 13 seconds off him. As Rafael Oliveira on the inside of turn 2, that's not really where you want to be. He returns to pit lane, and... now he's going to lose a few positions there. And now we look to Michael Schumacher, who's not the 7-time Formula 1 world champion. Oh, as he takes a little bit too much curb in T1 and spins, getting in the way of Jason Milanov in P2 there. Oh, not sure there'll be too much said about that, because Milanov just doesn't quite have the pace compared to Goose today. Goose, we still have just over 10 laps of the race to go. It's about 11. Diego Rosado leaving again. As we are quite far into the race is starting to thin out a bit. Let's look to who has gained the most positions today. So our biggest loser today is Rafael Oliveira, who is in pit lane and may not be continuing to race. And so it would be Diego. And our biggest gainer is Sarah, last name I can't pronounce, apologies, who is in P4, starting P9. And Chris P losing 4 positions, starting P4, and now in P8. So Jason and Goose swapping positions since the start. Jason Milanov having lost 1 position from pole position, and Goose van Dormelen being in first place after starting second. Brendan Pierce having started 5th, now in 2nd. Cadillac Crafter having started 3rd, now in 5th. So the top 5 is shaping out at the minute to be Goose van Dormelen, Jason Milanov. If I quickly go to gaps to the leader, only the top 6 drivers are on the lead lap at the minute. And there's about 10 seconds from Lozzie being lapped. And so now if we go to intervals, so the gap between each driver, as Lamza makes quite an easy overtake on Rascoli, who is in pit lane. I think we're only going to have 13 drivers finish this race on the lead, or finish this race on a similar lap to where they started. Only about 5 or 6 drivers finishing on the lead lap. But as we look at Goose van Dormelen setting another fastest lap of the race, I think that was, as everything is spread out a bit, the closest gap is between Van der Meij and Chris P. And so, for anyone watching this who doesn't know exactly what's going on here, well, Brendan Pierce has made a mistake at turn 2 there, and he is off. Now Sarah's gotten back into the podium position. He's going to have to push quite hard to be able to get the podium that he would also want, as everyone does. They want to finish as high as possible. Van der Meij spinning there. Chris P making the position back, as Jordan Barker spinning at T10 there. T10 and T4 seem to be quite struggle corners for drivers. T10, T4, and maybe T12 or 13, we've seen a couple of incidents. As Goose van Dormelen has a little moment there at turn 4, actually. Shining up red a little bit, showing that he's under a certain speed, which means he's going slowly. And so Lamb's just fighting to stay 1 lap ahead of Thomas Kane, the driver, ahead of him on the track. But as they are fighting almost for position, I think he is treating it like an actual race because there's still nothing to lose. Yes. So we are 22 laps into this 29 lap race, about 7 laps to go, as I think that is our race leader of Goose van Dorn. Yep, just weaving his way through the lapped cars, as all the 137 car of Lambs are there, coming a little bit and maybe tapping Goose van Dorn. Nothing seemed to have affected him there, as now there is less than a second for P3 as Jason Milanov has a bit of a moment there at turn 10. Chris Piers, Van der Meij over. Chris Piers behind Van der Meij. Chris P had a moment on that lap, it seems then. But Brendan Pierce, a little bit wide there, the final corner that you would need to take with any amount of difficulty. As there are 3 more laps. 3 more corners after that. Apologies for the yawn there. I'm tired. The racing is extraordinary though. The drivers definitely aren't tired, with their eyes probably on stalks, trying to look for each apex and making sure they get the car in perfectly to set the perfect lap each and every lap. As there are 24 laps gone of this 29 lap race, there are about 5 laps to go. Brendan Pierce hunting down P3 Sarah Mulfitov. And I'm not good with names, apologies. As Brendan is hunting down Sarah to try and gain a podium position and more points for his fight for P4 in the championship, as the top 3 drivers have very much run away with it. As all Phoenix really needs is a win just to be able to move his disqualification out, and then maybe that will give him enough to win the championship. But we haven't seen Phoenix in a while, as Brendan Pierce now taps the wall a little bit, trying to go around the outside of Sarah there, as Ruscoli and Lamza make maybe a little collision, or both crash out on track. But Goose van Dormelen having a moment through T7, I think that was, as Sarah now is spun at turn 3, that is. Brendan, maybe a small collision with Brendan Pierce causing that. I will not say anything, but we looked away quickly to look at our race leader, who was slow on track out of turn 7. Brendan Pierce now going through turn 9 and through to turn 10. There is now a 7-second gap between P3 and P4. Maybe a few seconds earlier, Sarah would have had a chance on the podium. Now 7 seconds, and Brendan Pierce pulling the gap slightly. Nope, the gap holding at about the 8-second mark. Oh yeah. Oh. Apologies. I don't think there is a chance of Sarah getting them. Oh, as Lamza goes flying after Ruscoli goes underneath him. Lamza flying into the barrier there. That will definitely be looked at by the stewards, and maybe a penalty incurred there. That could just be early braking from Lamza or late braking from Ruscoli, but there was definitely a car not flat to the ground. As Jason Milanov trying to make his way around the 2 cars fighting for position. Lamza there in the background, and Ruscoli pushing Milanov a little bit there, maybe. Milanov's gotten through fine, and Ruscoli is chasing him down. Oh, I'm tired today. Apologies, but there is some great racing. I've had 2 ats from the commentator's booth. Okay, so at the moment, I'm being told that if Jason finishes P2 and Goose wins the race, Jason will still be champion, because Phoenix is not racing, and so cannot pose any sort of threat to him with one race to go. At the moment, Jason Milanov is champion, I'm being told, but the race is not finished, and so there's still a lot to go. A lot has happened during this race as Schumacher gets past Jordan Barker there. Did not see the actual overtake, but we may see Jordan Barker making a move on Schumacher, as the gap still holds just under half a second, but is stretching a little bit more now. Schumacher pulling away as Thomas Kane and Ricardo Lamza collide. Thomas Kane still stuck on the barrier at turn 1. Just needs to back up onto the track. I think he's going to go for the cutting the corner and then just returning to the track on T3. Still not on track. Maybe he's has some sort of damage. Nope, everything seems fine. Rejoins the track safely. Oh wait, it's the end of the race. Goose Van, oh my god, apologies for missing that, but Goose Van Dormelen has won the race. Jason Milanov P2. That means that Jason Milanov is champion, I think, from what I've been being told. I apologise for missing the end of the race there. The racing was just so close and so great. That is Brendan Pierce, your 3rd place driver. Sarah P4. And Cadillac Crafter in P5. Lozzie P6. Vandermeer P7. Chris P8. Schumacher P9. Jordan Barker P10. Those are all of your drivers finishing in points paying positions today. I will quickly open OBS so I can unmute Discord. Oh my god, I apologise, I never unmuted the racing. You got to hear my lovely voice for the entire race. Congratulations. As after an amazing race, I think I have somebody to fact check me here, but is Jason now champion because Phoenix wasn't racing today and so he can't bring back points? Diego?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. So, yeah, we have a champion now.
So if I quickly exit and then wait for everyone to have left so I can get an updated standings. I've just had the track map open, big screen for the entire time. This is what I've seen on my second monitor for the entire race, just this. And then if I quickly open up Sim Racing GP to get the race up, to get the standings up, after we wait a little bit for an update because the event is still running. We need to wait for every driver to leave the session. But we will have... Will we have an interview in a bit from the top 3 drivers?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so sorry for the lack of messages. It's just being a lot of mess, but as you can see, we now have a champion. Jason Milanov is your FSGP champ.
Yeah, we will head to the interview area now and wait for drivers to join if they feel so. Hopefully we'll have Jason in and hopefully we'll have our top 3 all in. Hello there, Diego. So at the moment there is 11 points between Jason and Goose, but Goose, even if Goose wins the final race and Jason doesn't, he can't gain 11 points because his worst finish is P3. a couple of times, which is crazy to think that out of the entire 20 races Goose has done, 16 of them he's finished above third place or above. That's crazy
it's
to
just
think.
incredible how all of Goose's results are in the top 3, all the ones that count. It's
Wow.
it's
not plugged
very,
in.
very impressive.
As we wait there, Brendan Pierce saying how Brendan Pierce is a driver that races in the future, also known as racing with a VR headset on, and so he's saying how at the end of this race his headset was at 6%, so he's very close to not finishing that race. So I think he's using wireless for a little bit now. Then I'm guessing if he's talking about the battery of it, because if he had it plugged in, it wouldn't have affected the battery. So I will message him quickly asking for, unless you already have. So we wait for our top 3 to come in, but at the moment, looks like Jason Milanov is our champion. So congratulations to him. Goose Van Dormelen, congratulations on second. Fulvio Phoenix got third place, but I still think, is there still a possibility that Cadillac can get fourth place in the championship?
I will have to. Well, let me check real quick.
If Cadillac wins and Brendan doesn't, I'm not sure.
So, okay, so FSGP event leaderboard it is. So, at the moment, as things stands, Jason has 326 points. Goose has jumped to 315, and then Fulvio has 306. So, it is mathematically possible Fulvio can still win, I believe, but I really doubt he will be racing next weekend. So it's an unlikely scenario. So I think Jason.
Yes, actually, let me get an updated picture up because the standings have updated. Actually, give it a second to make sure it updates properly because last week it wasn't 100% correct. I think it's correct now. Let's just do another refresh. And I will get a snip of that. And save as. Save as post Brazil and then edit that to post Brazil, not pre Brazil. Post Brazil. There we are. So after that, we have Jason Milanov as the champion because of this 16 race, this format where you only get points for your 16 best races. He has 326 points out of the 16 races that count to his championship. And Goose Van Dormelen having 16 of his races where he hasn't finished off of the podium, which means every single point that he has gained has been a podium position point. And I've only...
So now we have on the chat the race winner, first of all, Goose Van Dormelen. That was a tricky race, I can tell you, because I was at the beginning and had to retire. But you managed to survive. I think that's the right word to say. How was it?
Yeah, that describes it really well. I think Jason had a better start than me, especially the first 2 or 3 laps. So, but after that, I could find my rhythm. But exactly then, he made a mistake in turn 4, I think. So then I could get past, and after that, I just had a massive gap, so I was in front leading. But yeah, it was a bit a very messy race. So it was indeed all about just staying alive through all the race. I think I spun 3 times or so during the wall race. So yeah.
Tricky
Yeah,
race.
because yes.
Tricky
Yes,
race.
so it was. Yeah, my heart was in my chest. So yeah, fun was a wall race, but yeah, in the end it was enough. So I'm very pleased with that. But I'm not sure. I think Jason is champ, right? But I don't know for
Yes.
sure. So.
Yes.
Okay,
So now we
okay.
will move to him. Jason, we are not gonna still celebrate it too much because, as you mentioned, there may be um, requests for incidents and stuff like that. But if the position still stands, you are the professional 2022 FSGP champion. How does it feel?
Well, not the race that I wanted to end it with, but uh, yeah, I have huge problems with my mouse, like with the game as a whole. This whole week, barely had any time to practice. I was really not happy with how it all went, but in the end, if I really am champion, I'm really happy. I'm glad. I miss Ven right now. He would have been. He would have
Yeah,
been
He would have been
crazy.
ecstatic.
yeah. I think we should wait for Ben to come in and just. Whoa, this is getting full. We'll have to Ben to come in and just commentate on the final laps. That's gonna be definitely something. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really feel proud of myself if I can say that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know, with the hardware that I have, I'm really happy with
Oh.
my pace and everything that I achieved this whole year. Like, uh, if I see it Saturday, I'm just going to free my weekend just for this race because I really
Yeah.
like the championship.
yeah, and celebrate it properly. Absolutely.
Oh, no.
And now we will move on to Brendan. Third place. It was third place. I missed the final lap, so sorry if that was not the case. How was the race? We saw on the stream you had a great battle with Sarah. So how was it from
Yeah.
your point of view?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a pretty good start. I had Chris and Cadillac ahead of me, and I managed to get
Hmm.
Chris through the first couple of corners, and then unfortunately Cadillac got murdered.
Yeah, of
at some
course.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then,
kill these guys, man.
but yeah, Sarah came out of nowhere. I've never seen her around before.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
I-
so Sarah,
You're
Sarah
good
has
racer,
raced
man. You're good
usually
racer.
races on the RD server. She raced here in the past before with the MFTC3. I believe this is her first race with the Phoenix, so it's very impressive that she was up there and with so much pace. So really good to see
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's a tricky car to master, and for her to be that quick already, it's very impressive.
Yeah, I had a good fight with her. That was tricky. I was like,
Yeah,
Brendan,
I ended
was
up
it?
being just a little bit quicker, but yeah, I had to catch her twice because I spun myself somehow.
But did
Yeah.
I kill you, Brendan? I think it was you, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know. Did you hit me?
It was the last corner, like the last
Was-
chicane. I think I killed
It was.
someone.
I spun at turn 1.
Okay, it wasn't me then.
I went
Okay, it
straight
wasn't
nose into
you
the
then.
wall. It came out of nowhere. Yeah, you killed someone else then.
yeah. Everyone kills someone. I
Hmm.
think I killed someone accidentally because of a bomb. It's been a mess. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Brazil, they gotta resurface the place before we return.
Or maybe change
Because-
the car.
Yeah,
Force.
I mean, next year, if all goes to plan, the MFDO2 should be used. So a winged car again and a car with less power again. So
I
it
sure
would be
hope
more
not,
like-
but yeah, we'll see. I like this car the way
Yeah.
it is.
yeah, I think we will definitely return to a less power formula and a wing formula for the FSGP series.
Mm.
But yeah, and I think it will be quick anyway. You've shown a lot of speed this year, so
Mm.
anyway, guys, thank you for all your time. Thank you for the interviews.
Yeah.
Now I guess we'll let you enjoy the Formula One sprint. I guess we all
Yeah.
gotta watch how many laps Magnussen is at front.
Let's see. So, thank you all for watching stream. Thank you to the drivers for giving us such great race. You have 20 minutes to chill out before the Formula One brings you more action with Kevin Magnussen at the front. This surely, hopefully, is not the end of all the action for the racing today, because this was an amazing race. Thank you all very much for watching. I have been Ethan Mills, commentating over the most of the race. The driver, actually, who joined me, the driver and designer of the car, who's joined me near the end, is Diego Rosado.
Hello.
Thank you all very much for watching. Have you got anything to say, Diego?
No, really, nothing to say. It was a bit of a crazy race at the start, especially. Many cars, very bumpy track, very tricky to avoid trouble. Sometimes it goes like this, these races, but yeah, Abu Dhabi will definitely be a cleaner race, an easier race. So yeah.
Anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and that will be the end of stream. Goodbye.